Preserving the identity of the Christian teenager. Preserving the identity of the Christian teenager. We are going to be reading from the book of Luke, Luke chapter 9. Luke chapter 9, verse 1 to 10. Luke chapter 9, verse 1 to 10, I read. It says, Jesus called the 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority to drive out all demons and to cure diseases. Then he sent them out to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. After saying to them, take nothing with you for the trip, no walking stick, no beggar's bag, no food, no money, not even an extra shirt. Wherever you are welcome, stay in the same house until you leave that town. Wherever people don't welcome you, leave that town and shake the dust off your feet as a warning to them. The disciples left and traveled through all the villages, preaching the good news and healing people everywhere. When Herod, the ruler of Galilee, heard about all the things that were happening, he was very confused, because some people were saying that John the Baptist had come to life. Others were saying that Elijah had appeared, and still others that one of the prophets of long ago had come back to life. Herod said, I had John's head cut off, but who is this man I hear these things about? And he kept trying to see Jesus. Verse 10 says, the apostles came back and told Jesus everything they had done. I know you're wondering why I'm reading this Bible portion and what it has to do with preserving the identity of the Christian teenager. But first, we have to understand what identity is, what it means. Now, what makes up a person's identity is their religion, their nationality or locality, their temperaments, their job, their attitude. Different things makes up someone's identity, who that person is. And when we talk about preserving, we are not talking about repairing. We are not talking about rebuilding. We are talking about maintaining, sustaining, protecting the identity of the Christian teenager. And the parents have a part to play. The teenagers themselves have a part to play if they really want to protect their identity as a Christian. Now, as we have seen, chapter 9, verse 1, there are three important points that we're going to pick out from this Bible portion. It says Jesus called the 12 disciples. Jesus called the 12 disciples. If you want to help your child protect the identity, you have to call them. Jesus called the 12 disciples. When last did you call your child? I don't mean when you're calling them to send them for something. I mean when you're calling them because you want to have a conversation with them. When last did you call your child? Now, we have seen throughout Jesus' ministry that anytime he wants to transfer a message to his disciples, he calls them. Some of us, our children are just living in the house with us, they are our roommates. We don't call them, they say we want to send them something. But if you want to teach your child to be a better person in the house of God and in the society, you have to call them. And then do you know the questions to ask? Who do you think I am? Like Jesus did. Jesus will ask his disciples, who do you think I am? And then the reason why he's calling them is not to give them errand. It's not to send them on an errand. It's not to correct them. It's not to give them rules and regulations. It's to find out their opinion about who they think he is. So when he calls them, he says, come and sit down with me, and they gather. And he says, who do you think I am? Just to hear the child's mindset, the child's belief. Teenagers are at a point in their life that they are building their belief system. They are building their belief system. And it is very necessary to know what they are thinking about, to know what they believe. They can be coming to church with you every day, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that they believe in what you believe in. It does not mean your teenager is because they're coming to church, they believe. It's not. Most of them, they don't believe what you believe in. And the only way you can discover what they are believing in, if you want to help them preserve their identity as Christians, is when you call them. It's not when you tell them by force, whether you thunder by fire. No. It's when you call them. Jesus always calls his disciples. He says, come. He called the 12 disciples. He says, who do you think I am? Now, the reason why you are asking them is because you want to know their opinion. about what they think about life. Sometimes you just carry your children, tell them, come, let's go for a stroll or something. Like a friend of mine, he told me something. He said his dad took him to where they sell sawdust and these building stuff like that. So he went, he was walking with the father. The father said, come, let's stroll. And the father asked him, after they had strolled around the whole market side, the father called him and said, what do you see? That's a very technical question. What do you see? We have seen cars, we have seen people. And then the child answered, he said, Daddy, these people here are suffering. The father said, that is what I wanted you to see. You're seeing how these people are suffering. That means that you should work hard so that you don't have to do this. Call them. Once in a while, call your children and say, come, let's just talk. Let's just talk. They chit chat, nothing much. It's not every time you're calling to send errand. Just call them. The next part, what does he say? After calling the 12 disciples together, he gave them power. He gave them power. What are you giving your children? Some of us, we don't give our children anything. We don't give them anything to live for. We don't give them anything that they can use to fight the battles of life. What are you giving your children? How many times have you called them and said, okay, this is what you do if you see this. This is what you do if you see this. If you encounter this, this is what you're supposed to say. What are you giving them? What orientation are you giving your children? When he called them, he gave them power. It says he gave them power over demons to cure diseases. He transferred something. It's not some of us, when we call our children, the only time is to talk about somebody. Talk about just to talk. It's not about the time you call your children to be gossiping or be saying things that does not make sense. When you call them, transfer something in them that will prepare them for the battle ahead. Teenage life, I told you, they are just transitioning from childhood to adulthood. That movement, they are moving into a different phase of their life. So what are you transferring to them that will help them to stand strong against the oppositions of life? What are you transferring to them? Have you taught them how not to open themselves to danger? Some of our children are very careless. Sometimes when they don't, like we said, when you don't call them and tell them, how are they supposed to know? For instance, someone just goes to the university newly, and then as usual, because you have to tell your children that the world is filled of varieties. They say variety is the spice of life. People from different places, different belief. This one say, me, I want to weigh leg chain. This one say, me, I want to weigh waist speed. This one say, I want to do. So what are you telling your child to do? So when they go out, they are just open to anything. They can accept anything. Now, how they open themselves to danger? For instance, a female child goes to school. Now, because you have refused telling your child about sex, about dating, about relationships, about what to say if they are approached, someone just makes them a guy, which always happens. This is the world. We cannot stop it. No matter how you want to do, they are females and they will always be approached. And then he meets them and said, what's up? Let's do one or two. And then the first thing that comes out from your child's mouth, because the person was not told, you did not call your child, you did not give them any orientation. Leave me on me like this, I'm a virgin. That's the first word that comes out, I'm a virgin. And then the day that they're looking for someone to use for sacrifice, for ritual, is that everybody just knows, what, you're looking for a virgin? She's the one. Your child does not know what to reply, does not know what to say in that situation because you did not call them. You did not call him, you did not call her. Your child goes to school, they are telling the person you have to drink if you want to chill with the big boys. Big boys drink. And then they will make you feel bad because you're not drinking. What did you tell your child before your child left home? Did you tell your child that it's only big boys that drink? And if he wants to become a big boy, he has to drink? He did not tell your child anything. He did not transfer power. It's very good. Prayer is very good. Prayer is very necessary. But while you are praying, impact life lessons into your child that will sustain that child for a very long time. The next thing, after calling them and equipping them, he did what? He sent them. Some of us, we are still afraid of sending our children. We have called them, we have equipped them, but how to let them go is difficult for us. If you really want to preserve your child's identity, you have to learn to let them go. When I mean let them go, you have to let them explore the world, push them forward. Jesus did not just call his disciples and preach to them. After preaching, he said, oh yeah, stay inside the house, stay inside the church. Why do you think we go out for evangelism? Because we are sent. It's in the process of sending that you are changed. You are redefined. You understand your purpose. You will not do things because your parent tells you to do it. You will not say, my parents said I should not wear this one, or my parents said I should not wear this one. If you are sent, will you still wear them? Will you still keep the commandment that was given? That's sending. You are afraid. No, my child, like we've said, your child will stay primary school, will stay in the house. Secondary school, and the problem is not the money. It's not as if you don't have the money. Secondary school, the child will stay. Won't you send your child to the boarding house? Me, I'm afraid that this child go like this. The fear is normal, but you cannot keep your child with you forever if you want them to learn life's lesson. Boarding school, they stay. University, you are afraid whether they should go, whether they should not go, whether they should go from house to school because you want to be money, you want to be seen, you want to be... No. At some point, you have to send your child out. Because whether you like it or not, one day they will leave you. They will leave you. So while you're equipping them for the future, while you're giving them the power, you're giving them everything they need to sustain themselves when they go out there, the next thing you should do, send them out. Exposure is very important if you want to help someone preserve his or her identity. Now the next thing, and the next part that is very important, verse 5. Let's read it together. Verse 5 says, wherever people don't welcome you, leave that town and shake the dust off your feet as a warning to them. You have to teach your children it's okay to be blunt. It's okay if they want to preserve their identity, because this is the world and there are people coming with different ideas, different ideologies, different things, beliefs. If they want to preserve themselves as a Christian, they have to be blunt. You have to tell someone, I don't want to work with you again. They have to know when to put an end to certain relationships, certain friendships. I don't want you again. Please, can you just step aside, out of my life? Anyone who wants to preserve his or her identity must be a gatekeeper. I think that is a very, very important point everyone should take note of. You can write it down. If you want to preserve your identity, you have to be a gatekeeper. Now, the term gatekeeping is gotten from a communication, it's gotten from the communication field. Now, gatekeeping is the process of, should I say, editing, selecting, because it's not everything that makes its way to the media. So they select some things they want the media the audience to know, and they, take back some. Now, in the process of a child going out, your child has to be a gatekeeper, selecting what they want and shutting the rest out. It's okay for them to go away. They don't have to be tied with anybody all their life. It's okay to go away from people. It's okay to move. You have to teach them that if you want to help them. Because there are friends that will come and it will be like my 20, my 5 and 6. When it's time for birthday, they post each other. So they feel that their destiny is tied with this person. They cannot leave. But you have to make your child understand that it's okay to walk away. If someone does not want you, please. The Bible says what? Wherever you are not welcomed. Don't just leave the town. Pack your things and leave. Preserving the identity of the Christian teenager. Now the last point for the parents. If you want to help your child preserve the identity. Verse 10. Let's go to verse 10. It says, the apostles came back and told Jesus everything they had done. By the time you are done doing what? Calling them. When you call them, you equip them. Then you send them. What happens next is that they come back with reports. They always come back with reports. They will not come back if you did not call them. They will not come and tell you anything if you did not create that relationship. We talked about it in the talk show. If you did not create a relationship with them, they will not come back. If you did not call them, they will not come back and give you a report. But when you call them, you equip them. That equipping can be orientation. Everything they need to know, most things they need to know. After that, you send them. Even though you are afraid, with fear in your heart, you are not the owner of that child, it is God. God is going to take up the child for you. Your child will make mistakes, it's fine. Some people may be saying, He's doing as he has not made mistakes. I have made mistakes in my life as a growing teenager. There were times that I lost my identity. There were times I ran away from my identity. But do you know what happens if you really want to become a Christian? That point that you come to realization that I have gone astray, and then you come back. So don't be afraid of sending your child out. They will fumble sometimes. It's fine. They are learning. That's how you became strong. Send them. When they go, they come back with reports. They would always come back with reports. It's what you do with the reports that matters. Someone is not going to tell you something if they know that they will not get something from you. I cannot tell you I'm not feeling fine if I know that you're not going to help me feel better. If I know you're not going to get drugs for me. If I know you're not going to care about me. I'm not going to tell you I'm not feeling okay. So they only come to give you the reports when they know you have something to give them, when they know that you have answers to questions. Sometimes the kids come and ask you questions. You say, go and sit down. Wait. What are you even asking me? Go and sit down. Tomorrow they will not come again. So when they come with answers, you give them. When they come with questions, you give them answers. You give them a shoulder to lie on. Most of us, when last did we hug our children? When last did we hug? When last did we just see our sons and daughters say, come here, you this boy, come here, you hug the person. When last did if it's I love you, don't even go there. That one is a forbidden language in the mouth of most parents. But these are things that more than words can send a lot of meaning. Sometimes you just have to hug your children. It's nothing bad. The child may not want to talk. A lady was saying that she went somewhere and then she saw a girl. The girl was on her phone. She was crying. Okay, she was not crying at first. She was saying she does not want to come home. And she was telling the person on the phone the situation of how the house was and things like that. So after the call, the lady just walked up to her, does not know the girl from anywhere, and just hugged her, and the girl started crying. Those are tears that have been stored up in that girl for years. Girl started crying. Sometimes you don't even need to ask them, how are you? There's how you can see your child moody, and then a hug sends a lot of information to somebody. The person feels okay. So now the three important things, if we want to preserve the identity of our children, is what? The first one, please, can I hear you? The first one? Okay, the second one? The third one? The fourth one? It's alright. We are getting somewhere. Everybody's getting it as you're going on. Now we are moving to the teenagers. Because this message is for two people. It's not just for the parents. The parents will do their best. You just do your best. God is going to handle the rest for you. There are some things that you tell your child, even if you talk to tomorrow, the child is not going to hear. But do you know what you're supposed to do for that child? Just pray. That God should manifest himself to them. There are several things I stopped doing, not because my parents will talk and tell you, it doesn't even concern me. But the day my eyes were open, nobody sent me. No one needed to tell me twice. When someone has a revelation of God, personal revelation, is different from when you keep shouting, when you keep talking. No matter how you are afraid, no matter how you try to guide so that, my child will not. It's only God that preserves somebody. It's only God. So you first hand over that child to the person that made him or her. They talked about manual here. Hand over your child. He's the one with the manual. He's the one that understands everything. He's going to take care of a child for you. Amen. Let's go to the next Bible portion, 1 Timothy. They read it in the Bible reading, 1 Timothy. First Timothy chapter 4. Okay. 4 verse 12. It says, do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but be an example for the believers in your speech, your conduct, your love, faith, and purity. Until I come, give your time and effort to the public reading of the scriptures and to preaching and teaching. Do not neglect the spiritual gift that is in you, which was given to you when the prophet spoke and the elders laid their hands on you. Practice these things and devote yourselves to them in order that your progress may be seen by all. Now, it's very common for teenagers to want to run away from their identity. That is the reason why you will see someone coming from Eket and telling you that it's coming from Ika. They are not proud of where they are from. It can surprise you to know that some of your children are not even proud of you. That's why Mommy, don't bother coming. Should I come? Don't come. Because they are not proud of their origin, where they came from. They are not proud of their house. Someone wants to come to their house. They say, don't worry, just stand at the junction. I will see you there. All these things makes up someone's identity. There was a time I ran away from my identity till I was tired. I decided not to run again. And the thing is that the identity of the parents is linked with that of the child. For instance, if you are an engineer, for instance, your child is automatically the child of an engineer. Whether the person bargained for it or not, it just comes naturally, automatically. That's why parents also have to be careful of the identity that they have for themselves, they are creating. Because even if the child is able to change that identity, it will still linger. Look at the woman with the issue of blood. Even after she was healed, nobody called her the healed woman. It was still the name that they knew her as before, that still kept on following her. There was a time I did not even want anybody to know that I was the child of a pastor. The way I would hide it there. Anything my parents, I don't even bring up the topic. Don't even ask about my parents. How are your parents? They are fine. Because I don't want you to know that my parents, there's oil some way. So I don't tell anybody. And then the funny thing was that the more I did not tell people, the more they knew. How they knew, I don't know. I don't know how they knew. But you always hear someone say, is it not Aju pastor? I then bishop. At the point I said, I'm not running again. I went to my Facebook, I posted a thing, Pastor Shout, let me rest. The reason why I posted it is because social media is everywhere. Anyone that just clicks on your profiles, I say Pastor Shout, so that you don't need to ask me anything again. I'm a Pastor Shout, that's it. Some of us, you are running away. You know that God has called you. You're running away. Where are you running to? You will still come back. Because God has called you. He says, let no man do what? Look down on you because you are young. Many people want to look down on young people. When they see young people who are doing things in church, like we are doing here, they are looking down on you. In their minds, some they don't even say, some say it. They're looking down on you. Let no man despise you. Let no man make you feel that you're less of a person because you are young and you're a believer. Don't make anybody make you feel as if you're not normal. Sometimes they make you feel as if you're not normal because you're not doing what they are doing. Don't let anyone make you feel less of who you are. He says, be an example to the believer in your speech, your conduct, the way you associate, the way you're doing things. Be what? Be an example. Let somebody see you and let them see God. Let somebody see you and see a Christian that is trying. They'll say, okay, this girl she's trying. She's trying. Let them see that. He says, until I come, give your time and effort to the public reading. The public reading, give your time and effort to the public reading. Give your time wholly to it. Some of us, we don't want to come to church. Church is boring. I don't want to come to church. You stay in your house. How are you going to preserve your identity if you don't want to come to church? The first way for a teenager, please, teenagers, you can write this down. The first way for you, if you want to preserve your identity, is to acknowledge and accept who you are. Acknowledge and accept who you are. This is who I am. I am black. That is why most people are bleaching. I am too dark. I want to change my identity. I want to change who people know me for. I don't want people to know I'm going to church. So any picture that has to do with church, once they say, let's take... Don't even want people to know you're a church girl. You don't want people to know that you're going to church. Accept who you are. And if you want to preserve your identity as a young person, you are not going to follow people and trends. You are not going to follow trends. Now, you are spraying hair. Because Nancy Nsime spray her hair. So all the youths now, someone that used to have hair before, you barb the hair. You draw lines and spray. You can never preserve your identity if you want to go that way. Now, I don't know what they call it, whether it's body con, whether it's what. Anything that comes out, you are the face to show. You want people to know that you're the latest, you are on track. Now, they say whether they used to carry, they remove two in the front. If you ask them now, why do you remove this hair in the front? They don't know why. But they are removing, everybody's removing the hair, so I must remove the hair. They're removing this side, you also follow and remove. Anything that happens, you are jumping on the trend. You are jumping on it. You will never be able to preserve your identity if you want to go that way. My mom used to say, everyone has their way. Don't follow anybody. Do you know the surprising thing about following people? When you follow people, these people can always get an opportunity to change. And then what happens to you is that you become addicted to something. Imagine, okay, I think someone I know, the guy was a normal human being, a normal person in the society. Until he decided to go and have a roommate that used to smoke. This guy smoked his life out. The person has gone. He's addicted. He's living with the addiction. He cannot stop it. He cannot stop it. So instead of following people, know that once you follow, you become addicted. And to stop when you become addicted, it's a problem. He says, devote yourself. Devote yourself to reading. Devote yourself to studying. What you read, what you study is what preserves you. That is what sustains you as a youth, as a teenager. He says, do not neglect the spiritual gifts that is in you, which was given to you when the prophet spoke, and the elders laid their hands on you. Now, one interesting fact to know about gifts is that the gift is part of your identity. Your gift is part of your identity. If you have the gift of prophecy, everyone knows that is your identity. My prophet, prophetess. If you have the gift of whatsoever, everybody knows you because of that gift. And the reason why most teenagers, when they were younger, when they were small, you used to see them, they will come and be dancing, acting drama, doing recitation, doing whatsoever. By the time they grew to become a teenager, they stop. Why? They don't want to be seen as they are godly. They don't want people to look at them as if they are too churchy. No, because they want to fit in. So they don't want people to know. He says, do not neglect that gift, because it is that same gift that will put you before kings and not near men. Is someone hearing me? It is that gift that you want to run away from. It's that ministry that will lift you to be with kings and not near men. Some of us want to follow people that used to gossip. Anyone that used to mock somebody, they are trying to do something. The person is the first person to call another person. Just call someone and laugh. That is the kind of people we will be following. If it's someone that say, let us put our heads together and do this thing, we don't want that one. You're running away from your gifts because of pressure. Last year, we acted a drama here, not using your gifts, because you want to be lazy. Anything that will give you stress, you don't want it. Anything that will give you pressure, you don't want it. The thing is that pressure is what has made everybody who they are today. Pressure is what has made everyone who they are today. So the more you keep running away from your gifts because you don't want to be pressurized, I don't want to be spending money, I don't want to be spending my time, I don't want to be coming to church always, the more you're running away from preserving your identity as a teenager. The last one says, practice these things and devote yourself to them in order that your progress may be seen by all. Now, the more you drown yourself in your ministry, the more you drown yourself in trying to preserve your identity, the more you keep walking, the more you keep reading, the more you keep studying, the more you keep listening to your parents, the more you keep adhering to instructions, to God's commandments, the more you progress. There is nobody that is diligent that does not progress. As long as you are diligent in what you're doing, you will progress. And that point of you being diligent is the point that everybody starts saying, they are doing too much. Why is she doing too much? Why are they doing too much? Every time it's there. Every time it's you. It's only you that is there. Obasabi. You want to go and pass yourself. Don't listen to all those things. Because what is important to you is that you are progressing. Amen. We are still talking about preserving the identity of the Christian teenager. Now, for anyone who has lost their identity in one way or the other, he must have backslidden. Friends must have carried you astray, whatever it is, whether it's a parent, whether it's a teenager. I just want you to know That the reason why Jesus came is because he wants to help those that does not have an identity to have an identity in him. When we were brought into the world, we came through Adam, through sin. But Jesus came that we may be called the sons and the daughters of God. I just want all of us to rise on our feet. Let's rise on our feet. Affect my life, breathe on me, as I look to you for life. Affect my